And so when I think about the Deferred Sales Trust, what really stands out to me is freedom and flexibility. The flexibility to make changes on the fly, the freedom to kind of direct the funds in a way that's going to be fulfilling for each of our clients. So maybe they come out initially and they say, what I really want is just time and passive cash flow because I'm burned out, I'm tired, I'm weary, I've been going hard, running, sprint speed for a marathon of life, and I'm ready to just kind of kick back. And then they get out and they want to jump back in. There's the flexibility to go back into another project maybe a year or 2 years down the road. You don't have to give, like a charitable remainder trust, you might direct your money towards a certain thing. You can pivot and say, I can give whatever I want, but I don't have to. And so when things change, I can change. And for me, when I get to the later points of life, my dream isn't necessarily a certain thing. It's to have that freedom and flexibility to take the results of the work of my hands through all those years and make the impacts that mean the most to me. And also to having the flexibility to either do more or do less, but I'm doing what I've decided to do.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. We're also streaming probably on Build It to Billions. I'm here with Dan Palmer and Brett Swarts, and we're talking about really specific tactical ways to exit well and to think through options for your clients if you're an advisor. Dan, I just had an opportunity to attend the Exit Planning Summit. Lots of financial advisors, lots of tax professionals, CPAs, and a couple themes that I caught on that I think are really just timely given what's as we're helping people exit, right? It's not just a tax strategy or tax code. It's really helping people make great decisions given their unique fact patterns and given their unique desires and legacy and what they want to build. And so you've been doing this now for a couple of years, Dan, and you've seen multiple different client exits at this point, help them through this transition. What are some of the great questions that help people to discover that you found that help people discover what their next chapter looks like and then how we can be a part of it?
Yeah, I think everyone has kind of a dream in their heart when they're in the grinding years of life and they're working and they're building and they're growing and they're basically building their business or building their real estate portfolio, and then they have this dream about the next step. Hey, when I'm finally able to exit and I finally have passive cash flow, or I finally have the resources to do the good things that I'm passionate about that help other people. They have all these dreams, but once they exit, sometimes the reality doesn't naturally sync up with the dream. Maybe they get out and they say, sitting at home all day isn't really fulfilling to me. Maybe maybe that isn't my purpose. Maybe working is what kind of made me, gave me respect in the marketplace, gave me an opportunity to make friends, and now I'm kind of sitting around and I don't feel that fulfillment even though I have a lot of freedom with my time. Or maybe they had a dream about, I want to impact this nonprofit or this need, whether it's sex trafficking of children in parts around the world, bringing fresh water to people, feeding people that are hungry, prison work, whatever passion they had. But then they get out and they realize like the leadership changed in that group and I'm not really as aligned anymore, and yet in my exit I kind of directed a lot of my giving funds towards that thing, and now I'm not really there. And so when I think about the Deferred Sales Trust, what really stands out to me is freedom and flexibility. The flexibility to make changes on the fly, the freedom to kind of direct the funds in a way that's going to be fulfilling for each of our clients. So maybe they come out initially and they say, what I really want is just time and passive cash flow because I'm burned out, I'm tired, I'm weary, I've been going hard, running sprint speed for a marathon of life, and I'm ready to just kind of kick back. And then they get out and they want to jump back in. There's the flexibility to go back into another project maybe a year or 2 years down the road. You don't have to give, like a charitable remainder trust, you might direct your money towards a certain thing. You can pivot and say, I can give whatever I want, but I don't have to. And so when things change, I can change. And for me, when I get to the later points of life, my dream isn't necessarily a certain thing. It's to have that freedom and flexibility to take the results of the work of my hands through all those years and make the impacts that mean the most to me. And also the having the flexibility to either do more or do less, but I'm doing what I've decided to do. And I think that's what the Deferred Sales Trust has done for a lot of our clients, and given them that freedom and that flexibility.
Yeah, so well said. Agree with that. And just adding some additional thoughts on that too. I think it's so important before the exit that you're realizing that how much of your identity and purpose and work, just how reflecting and taking an inventory of in relationships, working relationships and strategic alliance relationships and team member relationships, your friendships, right? It's tied to what you've been doing for so long. And the idea of, ascending up this mountain to get to the summit of the exit, and this is going to be the place of like peace and tranquility and like fulfillment. And well, not if you're not planning for that next piece of that season, right? And yes, you have more time, and yes, you have more flexibility, but it's so important to realize and just take an inventory of just that. Like, how much is my identity tied to this? How much is my purpose and my work, my life calling? And what will it mean on the other side? And planning for that. Like, so actually not just capital gains tax planning, right, and financial planning, but personal life planning. And I think about, empty nesters. Your last son's in college now, soon to graduate, I think in a year or two. My kids are still high school and junior high age, right? But there's different seasons of life where things drastically change, and marriages have to go through new seasons with different responsibilities. Same thing with work. And I think personal planning is something that gets overlooked quite a bit, and it's asking questions such as, what does my next season look like? Where am I going to be spending my time? Right? What are things that I can make an impact on? There's a book I'm reading with one of my mentors, Lloyd Reeb, and he talks about this idea of the warrior king sage stage, right? Mm-hmm. And a warrior is like you're out in the battlefield and you're conquering and you're going. King is maybe you're owning the business, and or you're helping to lead a team or lead, and then the sage stage is almost like it's this passing of the mantle to the next king or the next set of warriors, and so this transition and understanding that and not getting lost. In fact, there was a stat that really stuck out for me that the Exit Planning Institute did, and they said that 75% of all business owners regret selling their business within the first year. Now, it wasn't just tied because, I wish I would have been still in the business. It's more so, some of that's probably that, right? But it's more so, where's my new identity and purpose? Like golfing and in pickleball, and for me, we basketball if I could still play at that age when I retire. But there's certain, travel. All of these things are fun for a while, but there's a part of us that wants to work, and the Bible says that there's no part of the retirement in the Bible, right? With people who are believers, but. So asking the right questions and preparing, and there's personal life coaches that help you through this so that you're not on the other side having these kind of regrets or in this place of kind of a no man's land. So yeah, what other thoughts do you have on that, Dan? Or what other questions that people should be asking themselves to help them to be thinking about this?
I think you talking about the regrets reminds me of that old song that says, how on earth did I get so jaded? Life's mysteries seem so faded. And I think in our mind, we think when I get to this next step, then I will have arrived and I'll be happy and everything will be right. And then we get there, and whether it's getting to the college or getting married or getting that first house or, getting that promotion or selling our business, whatever that next, when I get to that next thing, then I'm going to be fulfilled. And what I've seen with our clients, Brett, is fulfillment doesn't come from material possessions. It doesn't come from cash flow. Those are great things, but those are tools to the things that really make life fulfilling. And so what I try to do with our clients is have them go through the process of their mind of saying, when I'm looking at this next step, am I looking at the right things that are going to be fulfilling to me? What am I going to be passionate about? What is it going to look like for my family? What is travel going to be? Is it just me going off to the beach and sitting by myself and getting as far away from all the leadership responsibilities I had in the past? Or is it going to be me going somewhere with the people that I love and experiencing new experiences that fill my soul back up and renew that passion that I had when I was young? And so getting off of the material aspect of selling your company and saying it's about money and it's about, being in charge of my own time and not being responsible, to like going, now I'm freed up for the next thing, the next meaningful and purposeful thing that will bring me joy and peace and happiness. Philosophically, you have the physical things, the material world, and then you have the metaphysical, the spiritual. And as you go through life, you realize that the physical never are the things that bring the true things that we really want: meaning, purpose. Those are spiritual things. You can't touch them. You can't touch purpose or meaning or hope or love or peace. Those are higher. Those are metaphysical things. But if we can take the physical things, the wealth, the time, the possessions, and use those to acquire the metaphysical things, we're going to find that our second half of life is even more fulfilling than the first, because now we have more tools than we ever had before. But we have to transition them into the things that really matter. And so I think when people are exiting, that's the things. If they're only focused on getting out or getting money, it's going to be 6 months to a year, and they're going to be bored, and they're going to be going, I need another challenge. But if they can find that peace, joy, hope, passion, all of those metaphysical things, they're going to find out their retirement years are the best thing ever. And we can help them get there because of the flexibility and the freedom of the Deferred Sales Trust. Whatever you need, it can flex to meet those needs, but you have to have a clear goal of what matters in life and what's going to bring fulfillment to you in those later years.
Oh, this is so good. He's Dan Palmer. I'm Brett Swarts. We're going to give you some practical things that you can now have an exercise to do. So here's just some questions to be thinking about, like what breaks your heart, right? What breaks your heart? And if you had truly passive income of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per month, what number? Pick a number. John Maxwell also has been teaching me this. I've seen John about 6 or 7 times in the past year, so I feel like I can talk to him more like I know him a little bit more now, which is pretty cool. I just saw him about a month and a half ago in Houston, Texas at a 100X event, and he talks about pick a number, and what is that number for you wealth-wise, where you're like, okay, this, my family and I, like this is our number, and then above and beyond that, now pick a number that's going to be giving to make a difference, an impact. So like what breaks your heart, pick a number. Also, what lights you up? Like what re-energizes you, not just in the painful thing that breaks your heart, but what can light you up? It could be coaching youth sports. It could be coaching your grandkids. It could be traveling with your family. It could be going to Uganda and putting clean water wells in to help some of the most vulnerable people in the world. And also, I like the way that also the flexibility of the trust, which it gives you the ability to partner with your kids or grandkids. So you can still be in a business and be entrepreneurial, right? Do you want to start a partner with your family or your kids or your grandkids? Great, they're still in college now, maybe when they graduate. I know we're working with an owner right now who wants his kids to be a part of the legacy of his real estate portfolio. And we're saying, well, how do you do that with estate tax that's looming with him being above the estate tax exemptions and the other side of his kids still being in college? Well, getting creative, and part of the flexibility is it's not just what the product or the engine being, let's say, the DST, but it's the team to help you execute and think through these things, right? This is so much more than just someone who helps you exit and set up legal documents and a trust. It's the team to help you think beyond and help you thoughtful ways to unlock what Dan's talking about, the metaphysical stuff. So flexibility and freedom is important. John Maxwell also had a quote. He said, when you can afford to retire, he says, you can't afford to retire, right? And his point is like, he's looked at his life and just others that he's helped to mentor. And he's like, you've got so much now. Like now is the chance for 100x impact. after all of the years of experience, all the relationships, all of the, let's say the compounding consistency you've had over your life with your character, and these years should be, like Dan just said, some of the most productive and impactful. And so, yeah, we would encourage you with that. If you want to learn more about what we do and how we do it, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We work with business owners. We work with real estate owners, Bitcoin stock sales, really any asset of any kind that you have a large capital gains tax. We want to help you think through these challenging questions that sometimes it's hard because you're in the business and you're so tied to it. But to take some time to have a thoughtful team to work through this and then figure out what strategy or strategies, by the way, are the best solutions. And Dan, another thing I learned about at the conference was, and I think it's so true, the more time you have and the more thoughtful you are at something, the more options you have. And the more options you have, typically the more ideal it's going to fit your particular situation if you're thinking through this. So that means you might have some charitable strategies. You might have more flexible entrepreneur strategies like ours. You might do a partial 1031. You might do a partial Delaware 1031. And it might be able to help you to diversify your exit in a way. I know we did a recent sale where we did it all into the trust, but then we turned around and did a partial SLAT. That's a spousal lifetime access trust, right? And that helped to remove some of it outside the taxable estate. So kind of a thing, there's timing, there's sequencing, right? And there's optionality, right? Now, a lot of strategies take seasoning, meaning you have to set it up prior to like multiple years. They take a lot of charity or all charity. They take a lot of gifting, or they take a lot of life insurance. And it's not that those are wrong or not good, but the reality is a lot of entrepreneurs, and if you're listening to this, you might be saying, Brett, I'm exiting soon. Like, I don't have the time to season, and I don't necessarily know where I want to go with the charitable stuff, and I ran out of kids, and I can't gift at all. The unique part about the DST is we can exit without any charity, life insurance, or gifting required, and that's a powerful thing. Post-close, there's some other optionalities that we can work with, like the slats, just so you know. So these are some of the things that we want people to thinking about. And if you're hearing about us for the first time, or if you're exploring our services, know that a lot of our services can be combined depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Dan, any last thoughts before we let everybody go?
Yeah, and the freedom for our clients. I've worked with a lot of our clients who've got to that next step, the step that they've dreamed about for years, where they actually have freedom and resource. And for me, it's really fun to kind of talk through that process of what it looks like. For me, I always like making a difference, but I also like new experiences. And so I used to, do my meaningful stuff. You mentioned the wells in Uganda. I'd go to Uganda, and for 2 weeks, it would be, huge time change. I'm going 100 miles an hour. I'm sweating my brains out because it's so hot there, and there's no fans or refrigeration, and I'm taking the anti-malaria medicines. I don't feel very good, and I get home and I'm just exhausted, and boom, I'm right back to work, and I'm going 100 miles an hour with work, and getting exhausted and frustrated with all the stuff you have to do. And now that I'm getting older and I'm getting more to those later stages, like I just went to Costa Rica, and I went with a buddy who has a huge $40 million exit coming up in the next few years. And so we're talking the DST, that's the work piece. And then we're working with a buddy who moved his whole family from America to Costa Rica to start a nonprofit called Least of These Ministries. And they build homes for people there that are basically living in the jungle. And they build these they're little tiny homes, but they're so excited to have a solid place. And so they were doing a building project. We got to see what they do and encourage them and lift them up. And then we're also in Costa Rica. So we're doing the e-foiling, the surfing. And so all the fun. And so I've envisioned that for our clients, that when they get to that next step, it's not, I'm done with work and I'm only going to rest and play. It's, no, I'm going to do a little bit of work. I'm going to make an impact in the things I care about. I'm also going to have the free time and the time with friends. And at a relaxed pace that brings purpose and meaning and freedom. And so, our saying at Capital Gains Tax Solution is we unlock capital gains to multiply freedom and impact. And that's not just a saying for our company, that's really what we want for the people that we work with. To unlock the capital gains, to release that capital so it can be invested and creating the passive cash flow so that they can have freedom and impact at the same time for those later stages of life. And so Costa Rica for me is like the vision of it. Doing a little bit of all those things at the same time at a relaxed pace that brings fulfillment and meaning and purpose, still working with people, still mentoring, still discipling, still encouraging, but also out on the ocean surfing and hanging out at the beach and watching the sunset and having a Corona at the restaurant at one of the most beautiful places ever. Doing it all. And I really, for our clients, that's my hope for them after a lifetime of really hard work, that they would find that place where their heart's filled up and they're filled with joy and surrounded by people they care about, making that impact that they always dreamed of.
Amazing. Absolutely love it. We call that 2-for-1s or 3-for-1s. You know, like if I go work out and I can bring my son with me, it's a 2-for-1, right? He gets some time together and he gets to work out and learn, and we get to laugh. We're walking on the treadmill, and he's 7 years old and he's putting up some weights, you know, and my daughter, the same thing. Yeah, friends, impact, you know, a little bit of business mixed in if you can. Awesome. Hey, everybody. Again, he's Dan Palmer, Brett Swarts. If you want to learn more, connect with us, just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, and we will talk to you all again real soon. Bye now.